Open your bank app on a Saturday morning. There is about $100 missing from where you thought your balance would be, not because of one big purchase, nothing memorable, nothing that changed your life, just a few small things. A delivery order because you were tired. A subscription you forgot was still running. A coffee, a snack, a small online order, and one purchase you barely remember making. The money is gone, but there is no story attached to it, no memory, no progress, no proof that it did anything for you. That is how a lot of money disappears. Quietly, politely, in amounts small enough that you do not feel the need to question them. But imagine 1 month that same $100 goes somewhere different. It does not go to another delivery order. It does not go to a cart you opened at midnight. It does not go to a subscription you will forget about by next week. It goes into an investment account, and the next morning, nothing dramatic happens. You do not wake up rich. Your rent is not suddenly paid forever. Your job does not become optional. The market does not send you a thank you note. Your life looks almost exactly the same, but one thing has changed. Before that transfer, you were someone who planned to invest someday. After that transfer, you became someone who has already started. That may sound small. It is not. That is the $100 identity shift. The first $100 will not make you wealthy, but it can move you into a different category of person. Not someone who reads about investing. Not someone who says they will start when things calm down. Not someone waiting for the perfect salary, the perfect market, or the perfect understanding. Someone who has money in motion. Someone whose future now has an address. Someone who has proof. Personal financials, and proof changes behavior in a way intention never does. This is not personal financial advice. I do not know your income, your debts, your goals, your risk tolerance, or whether investing is the right next step for you right now. If you have high-interest debt, no cash buffer, or urgent bills, those may need to come first. But if you are sitting there thinking you need thousands of dollars before you are allowed to begin investing, this video is for you. Because the first investment does not need to impress anyone. It needs to make the system real. A lot of people never start because they are waiting for the amount to feel respectable. They think, when I have $10,000, then I will take investing seriously. Or, when I make more money, then I will open the account. Or, when I understand everything, then I will begin. That sounds reasonable, but it hides a trap. The person who waits for perfect conditions is still negotiating with the future. The person who starts with $100 has stopped negotiating. They have crossed the line from idea to evidence. That is a different life. Not because the $100 is huge, because the action is real. The first $100 does something very strange. It makes money visible. Before you invest, $100 is just spending capacity. It can become a meal, a shirt, a ride, a few apps, a weekend that leaves no trace. After you invest, that same $100 becomes a small piece of a larger machine. It now has a job that lasts longer than the mood you were in when you earned it. That is the first lesson. Money can have a life after you spend it. Most people experience money only in 2 stages. It comes in, it goes out. Paycheck, bills, paycheck, groceries, paycheck, rent, paycheck, credit card. Money appears, then disappears. And because the cycle repeats so often, it starts to feel like that is all money can do. But the first investment introduces a third stage. Money can stay. Money can work. Money can belong to a future version of you who has not arrived yet. That idea is easy to understand, but it feels different when your own money is doing it. Content can teach you the concept. A real account teaches you the feeling. The first month the feeling is not impressive. You put in $100. Maybe the account shows $99.80 the next day. Maybe it shows $100.30. Maybe nothing seems to happen. This is where a lot of people get disappointed. They expected investing to feel like progress. Instead, it feels like a tiny number sitting on a screen. That disappointment is normal. In fact, it is useful, because it teaches you the truth early. Investing is not exciting at the beginning. It is not supposed to be. The beginning is not where the money proves itself. The beginning is where you prove whether you can leave the system alone long enough for it to matter. That is why the first $100 is less about return and more about restraint. Can you send the money somewhere useful and not immediately demand entertainment from it? Can you watch a small number stay small without calling the whole thing pointless? Can you build a habit before the habit starts rewarding you? That is the first test. Most people do not fail because they start too small. They fail because small feels insulting. They look at the number and think, what is the point? And that question kills more wealth than bad math ever will. The point is not that $100 changes your net worth today. The point is that $100 changes the kind of decision you are now capable of repeating. Repeatable decisions are where wealth begins. One impressive deposit can feel good. A repeatable deposit changes your life. There is a difference. A one-time $1,000 investment can be forgotten. An automatic $100 every month becomes part of your identity. It leaves before you negotiate with yourself. It moves before your tired brain starts making excuses. It turns investing from an event into a default. And default behavior is stronger than motivation. Motivation needs the right mood. Defaults only need the calendar. That is why automation matters so much. If you have to decide every month whether you feel ready to invest, you will eventually lose to your own life. A busy week will beat you. A stressful day will beat you. A tempting sale will beat you. A friend's birthday will beat you. The version of you who says, "I will do it later," will beat you. But if the transfer happens before the month gets loud, the decision is already made. You do not need to be heroic. You only need to not cancel the system. That is a much easier job. Now, let us be honest about the math. If you invest $100 per month, the first year will probably not feel dramatic. Using a hypothetical 7% average annual return, $100 a month for 1 year might become roughly $1,240. You put in $1,200, the growth might be around $40. $40. That is not life-changing. That is not rent. That is not even a big grocery trip anymore. And if you expected investing to impress you immediately, you might feel cheated. But that is the wrong scoreboard. In year 1, the most valuable thing you built is not the $40. It is the 12 months of evidence. 12 months of showing up. 12 months of money moving toward your future before it disappeared into your present. 12 months of becoming someone who does not need a perfect mood to make a good decision. That evidence matters. Because by the end of the first year you are no longer asking, "Can I start?" You are asking a better question: "How do I make this system stronger?" That is when the identity shift begins to spread. You start noticing things you did not notice before. A $17 subscription no longer feels like $17. It feels like 2 months of extra investment over a year if you redirect it. A credit card balance no longer feels like just another bill. It feels like money working against you while your investments are trying to work for you. A raise no longer feels only like permission to upgrade. It feels like a chance to increase the automatic transfer before lifestyle inflation sees it. A fund fee no longer feels like a tiny decimal. It feels like a leak inside the engine. That is the hidden power of starting. The account begins small, but your awareness expands. And awareness is one of the cheapest financial tools you will ever own. It costs nothing, but it changes what you see. Before the first investment, spending feels normal and investing feels like extra effort. After the first investment, some spending starts to look like interrupted growth. Not all spending. You are still allowed to live. You are still allowed to enjoy your money. But now, every dollar has a second possible story. It can disappear, or it can be assigned. That small mental change is enormous. 6 months in, another test comes. The market drops. Your $600 of contributions might show $560, maybe less. The number is not huge, but the feeling can be surprisingly strong. You may think, "I knew this was a mistake." You may think, "I should have waited." You may think, "I finally started, and now I am losing money." But this is exactly where the system is training you. At the beginning, your job is not to be clever. Your job is not to predict the market. Your job is not to react to every red number. Your job is to understand the difference between volatility and failure. Volatility means the number moved. Failure means the plan broke. If the money is for decades from now, a bad month is not an emergency. It is part of the weather. And if you cannot sit through small weather with a small balance, you will not magically sit through big weather with a bigger one later. The first $100 gives you practice while the stakes are still low. That practice is valuable. You learn what it feels like to see red and not run. You learn what it feels like to continue buying when your emotions are telling you to stop. You learn that investing is not just math, it is behavior under uncertainty. And behavior under uncertainty has to be trained. No one becomes calm in a downturn by reading quotes about patience. You become calmer by living through small downturns without breaking your own system. That is why starting small is not a weakness. It is a training ground. By year 5, the numbers begin to feel a little more real. $100 a month for 5 years is $6,000 contributed. At a hypothetical 7% average annual return, the account might be a little over $7,000. Still not huge, still not freedom, but no longer invisible. You now have an account that did not exist before. A habit that survived 5 years, a small financial engine that keeps receiving fuel, and something else has happened. The transfer probably feels normal now. You are no longer debating it every month. It just goes. Like rent, like a bill. Except this bill pays your future. That is when the system starts to become powerful. Not because the balance is already massive, but because the action no longer depends on excitement. Most people think wealth is built when numbers get big. But before numbers get big, habits get boring. Boring is not failure. Boring is often the stage right before the system starts doing visible work. By year 10, the account looks different. $100 a month means $12,000 contributed. At the same hypothetical 7% average return, the balance could be around $17,000. The growth is no longer $40 a year. It is becoming a real supporting force. The account has started to add weight to itself. Not enough to make you financially independent, but enough to prove that the direction is real. And once you see that, something changes. You stop thinking of investing as something rich people do. You stop thinking of it as a topic. You stop thinking of it as a future version of yourself. It becomes part of your financial life, like paying bills, like checking income, like planning for taxes, like knowing what rent costs. It becomes normal. That is the victory. Normal is powerful. If investing has to feel inspiring, it will not survive ordinary life. If investing becomes normal, it can survive almost anything. By year 20, the system has had time to breathe. $24,000 contributed. At a hypothetical 7% average annual return, the balance could be around $52,000. Now the market may have contributed more than you expected. The money is no longer just sitting there, it is carrying part of the load, and you may look back and realize something important. The hardest part was not the market, it was not finding the perfect fund, it was not understanding every financial term. The hardest part was becoming the person who started and did not stop. That person was built by the first $100. Not all at once, not dramatically, but month by month. The first transfer created evidence, the evidence created confidence, the confidence created consistency, the consistency created a balance that finally started to matter. That is the path. By year 30, the numbers can become surprising. $36,000 contributed. At a hypothetical 7% average annual return, $100 a month could become roughly $122,000. Again, that is not guaranteed. Markets do not move in straight lines. Returns are uncertain. Inflation matters. Fees matter. Behavior matters. But the point is not that this exact number will happen. The point is that a tiny monthly decision can become a serious asset when time is allowed to do its work. And the person who started with $100 did not need to be brilliant. They needed to begin, then continue, then increase when possible. That last part matters. $100 is a starting line, not a ceiling. After 90 days, maybe it becomes $125. After a raise, maybe $150. After a debt is paid off, maybe $250. After your emergency fund is built, maybe $500. The system earns the right to grow. You do not have to jump from zero to perfect. You just have to stop staying at zero. That is what most people miss. The first $100 is not meant to be impressive forever. It is meant to break the seal. It is meant to prove that money can leave your account and build something instead of vanish. It is meant to create a path your future self can widen later. So what should the first $100 actually do? Keep it simple. Open the right kind of account for your situation. That may be a retirement account. It may be a brokerage account. It may be an account through your employer. The point is not to overcomplicate the doorway. The point is to create the doorway. Choose boring before clever. For many beginners, that might mean a low-cost diversified fund instead of trying to guess the next winning stock. Do not confuse excitement with intelligence. Excitement often makes beginners take risks they do not understand. Boring gives you time to learn without turning every market move into an emotional emergency. Set the automatic transfer. Put it on the calendar. Treat it like a bill from your future. Then decide how often you will review it. Not every hour, not every red day, maybe once a month, maybe once a quarter. You are not trying to turn investing into another source of anxiety. You are trying to build a quiet system, and after 90 days, ask one question. Can this grow? Not, can I become rich overnight? Not, can I beat everyone? Just, can I move this from 100 to 125? If yes, do it. If no, keep the system alive. Alive matters. A small system that continues is better than a perfect system you abandon. Point is not to impress anyone with the first amount. Point is to become the kind of person who keeps building. There is one more thing the first $100 does. It changes how you experience spending, not by making you guilty about everything. That would be miserable. But by making the trade visible, a random $100 no longer feels like nothing. You now know what else it could become. Not today, not tomorrow, but over time. That knowledge does not mean you never spend. It means spending becomes more honest. If the dinner matters, enjoy it. If the trip is worth it, plan for it. If the purchase improves your life, choose it. But stop letting money disappear without a vote. That is the real difference. Before the identity shift, money leaves by default. After the identity shift, money starts asking for direction. Some of it still goes to joy. Some of it still goes to comfort. Some of it still goes to life. But now some of it goes to ownership. And ownership changes the way the future feels. You begin to understand that financial progress is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like one small automatic transfer. Sometimes it looks like leaving the account alone during a bad week. Sometimes it looks like increasing the contribution by $25 after a raise. Sometimes it looks like canceling one thing you forgot about and redirecting it towards something you will remember years from now. The first $100 will not rescue you, but it can recruit you. It recruits you into your own future. It gives you a role. You are no longer just the person earning the paycheck and watching it disappear. You are now also the person sending part of that paycheck ahead. That is a powerful thing, because most financial change begins before the numbers look impressive. It begins when you start acting like the person you are trying to become before there is much evidence that it is working. The evidence comes later. The identity comes first. So if you have $100, do not ask whether it is enough to change your life this month. It probably is not. Ask whether it is enough to change the direction of your next decision, because that is where the real shift happens. $100 can become the first brick, the first vote, the first proof. The first small piece of money that does not vanish into the week. Most people do not fail because they start too small. They fail because they never cross the line from someday to today. The first $100 crosses that line. It will not make you rich immediately, but it can make the future real. And once the future becomes real, you start treating money differently. You start treating time differently. You start treating small choices differently. That is how the system begins. Not with a fortune, not with a perfect plan, not with knowing everything, with $100 that finally goes somewhere intentional. Don't crash your money. Learn how to guide it.